No.
Yes. Right.
So you guys need an alignment, not coaching.
The coaching industry has exploded.
We want to be better. We want to move forward and keep growing.
Uncoachable is going to be released bi-weekly with a new coach, a new idea, a new approach, and a new takeaway. Hi, I'm John.
I'm Reese, and he's uncoachable. Hello and welcome to Uncoachable. I am Reese, and with me is John.
Hello, hello.
And we have a very special guest. We have Vatsal. Welcome.
Yeah, hello. Nice to be here.
Now, when we do this show, we like to start off by allowing our listeners to understand a bit of your kind of background and qualifications. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I'm a professional speaker and a speaking coach. I've coached a lot of speakers for TEDx and conferences like Disrupt HR. And outside all that, I work with people one-on-one as well. But my background is in computer science. I came to Halifax, did my master's in computer science, worked in the industry for a decade. Then I was like, I want to talk. So that's why I switched to speaking. And I've been speaking for close to 5 years now, actually over 5 years now.
It sounds like quite an abrupt change to go from coding to sort of coaching on communications.
Yeah.
So how'd that sort of come about?
So I've always been working on building relationships in my whole life. Like whenever I was coding as well, I would just hop from my desk, get my task done, go and talk to people. So I really like talking basically. But now I just talk on stages. And for the change, it was, I was just tired of not talking, I guess, because the work was getting too busy and I was kind of getting exhausted, I would say. I wasn't very happy with what I was doing. And the expression part, like when you hear the stereotype that software developers are not good at expressing themselves, that was very true with me. And that kind of didn't resonate with me. I was like, that doesn't feel right. It didn't match the identity I had in my head. I was like, I need to fix this. And that's why I started to talk and learn how to talk.
Yeah, Reese and I were talking a little bit about our assumption on coders, similar to editors that are typically in a closed, dark room, head down, doing a task.
Post-production is very similar to like an IT department, is where people like to just sit in a dark room and just focus on their tasks and not have too much interaction. So that is the stereotype, definitely.
Which raises the question, which is what makes you qualified to be a coach for public speaking?
That's true. You're asking me, okay.
A little bit about your journey, I guess, to go from that to where you are now.
So I did it for a long time just for the fun of it, just to learn. And then I started doing the speaking myself. And people were liking it. They were like, we loved what you said. And they started inviting me back to speak. And after a few gigs, and I'm pretty like blunt sometimes. I'm not blunt with myself, but if I'm seeing somebody making some obvious mistake in speaking, I just shout it out. I'm like, hey, you are doing this wrong. And people are like, oh my God, thank you so much. Nobody tells us this shit. So, and they love it. So I'm like, okay, I can coach you then. And then the gigs started getting bigger, like Disrupt HR, TEDx, and all those things started to come in. So to answer your question, I guess I had some experience and people like what I say, I guess. Yeah. So that's why I started coaching, really.
It's there's an old, parable about given the choice, you'd rather be dead than public speaking, which means at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than give the eulogy. Is that whole scenario? So there's a mental piece of public speaking that terrifies people.
I think that I think a lot of people are absolutely like the idea of standing on a stage and talking like is almost like one of their like recurring nightmares that they've had since childhood. So I suppose that has to be like a real barrier to get over. But on the flip side as well, I imagine there are people who think they're really good at it. And no one has ever told them until you turned up, potentially. So,
I've had both. Some people think they are so great. When you give them feedback, they don't like it. They're like, what do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. I've given a speech to this many people. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter how many people you're giving speech to. This is the next level. You got to get better and do this and that. So it's like two sides of a coin, I would say. Like some people are very nervous, as you said. They're deathly scared of public speaking. They don't want to speak at all. But then some of them had a little bit of success in speaking, and then they don't want to listen to anything you have to tell them. They're like, we are just too good for this. You're nobody to tell us. I'm like, okay.
So there's the right amount of confidence.
Yeah,
Not too much, not too little.
Yeah, too much is bad. Like, I don't like that, actually. I guess nobody likes it, but...
But I suppose, like, usually when you're doing public speaking, the audience wants you to succeed. Like, nobody... especially in like a corporate setting, in like a business event or a networking event or something, someone stands up to talk, everyone's on their side. It's not like a comedy club where people are a bit more vicious towards like, make me laugh kind of thing. I think it must be so easy for people to kind of go ahead and it's like a safe environment, I feel. As much as public speaking is potentially scary to people, it's also generally a place where people are hoping you'll succeed and give them a good talk. Do you kind of like, I don't know, that's my observation, but do you find that like from your experience that, audiences do have that kind of, they buy in and want to support the talkers, or are you kind of preparing people for the worst?
So most of the crowds that I have spoken in front of, they're very friendly. They cheer you on, they clap and engage with what you're saying. But sometimes if you're speaking in the evenings, people are tired. Where I practice, I go to a Toastmasters club and practice. Sometimes people are very tired. They don't want to be there. They're yawning. They're not looking at you, checking their phones. So sometimes that can be very discouraging, but most of the times the crowds are pretty good. And in terms of corporate, that's actually a safer environment, I find, because you talk in front of the same people you see every day. You have coffee conversations with them, so you can just go and talk. But you don't have to be very dramatic in speaking there. You can be to the point.
Yeah, I was going to say I disagree with you in regards to corporate communications, corporate speaking as well. So outside the TEDx and outside the comedy clubs, when you're actually doing presentations for your employees, for your team members, there is more pressure of if I screw up.
If you say something terrible.
Say it's a career-limiting move, all of that kind of stuff. But also VC pitches, where the pressure on is to be able to, I need to convince these group of people that my business is of value. So the pressure is sort of elevated. So making somebody laugh, I understand those pressures. But from a business standpoint, the pressure of screwing up can be quite high. And that pressure probably really messes with the delivery and what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah, if you're in a corporate environment, you can't swear. You can't really...
Be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself. You kind of like, you have a lot more pressure, I would even say, in a corporate environment. But pressure is a little different. It's not like performative, like you have to do good at your speaking. But for pitching, it's totally different. Like you might not get the money if you're not doing it well. So it's like different situation, the pressure changes. For like confident speaking, it's like more about how you move the audience, if there's any transformation in the audience. So that's a different pressure. Like you have to shape your speech differently for that. So yeah.
So Uncoachable is all about like me and John struggling with the concept of being coached and everything. But have you had any good or bad coaching experiences yourself, specifically in this field, I guess?
Bad would be, again, like if people think they're too good for you or the speaking and they just talk about themselves all the time. So whenever we're talking in front of an audience, the audience wants to know what's in it for them. If you're just going on tooting your own horn on the stage, nobody cares about that. So I do get some people who are like that, and then you have to coach them to, don't do this on the stage. It's just like try to serve the audience, not serve yourself. And the good experiences, I would say, when you're working with somebody and they feel more confident in their speeches than they were before they started working with me, that's what I call a win. Because as you said, a lot of time people don't express themselves completely because of the pressure and what they're allowed to say, what they're not allowed to say. And they kind of lose that spark in their speeches. So I usually tell them, like, just be yourself, because people will connect with you more if you're being yourself instead of this pretend version that the audience wants to see, or that's what you think people want to see. Don't do that. And after that, they feel more confident in their speeches. And I call that a win, to be honest. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think there's that balance between being authentic in yourself, depending on your audience, but then also being performative. Because I'm trying to move people, inspire people, and direct people, and not necessarily, that's not always your natural state. So it's performative to a degree, I guess. But so trying to balance an authentic and a performative approach with the right amount of confidence and not too little confidence is the harmony.
Yeah, don't hide behind the mic or something, I guess. Yeah, still face the audience. Yeah.
And do you have like a moment like a wow moment you're really proud of, where you're like, this person came in and they were like a little mouse, they were like terrified, and then they blew everyone's minds with this incredible kind of performance? Do you have any kind of stories like that?
So when I work with people, it's long term. I work with at least a few months, and when they come in, they are like a mouse. But over time, their performance improves, the speaking improves, and I love seeing that. It's almost like they have an idea, but before and after is completely different. I am thinking of an example that I could give you, but mostly they come in and they're like, we don't want to swear or anything. And they're like very small. But sometimes I work with some of these people, and they go on the stage and they're like a lion almost, and they're like swearing and bringing on their old stories, which they were scared to talk about on the stage. I've seen those a lot, like things they're afraid to talk about before and afterwards. They are okay with it.
It makes me, so I'm curious, who typically engages with you? Like if it's a corporate engagement, is it sort of a coworker that says you need to give Reese a little bit of help with the way he speaks on stage, or is it Reese going, I'm really a bit of a mouse at the moment, I can't come out of my shell? Who engages you? And then what's that transition? Like, do you do a couple of trial runs? Do you do some mock sessions? Do you review them while they're actually on stage? What's your process like?
I was going to say Reese needs a lot of help.
Yeah. He's still in his shell.
I'm beyond help.
So I usually work with entrepreneurs. Actually, I have most of the people I work with they have a small business, and they have a full-time job, and they're working on a side hustle they want to make full-time. For them, I basically make them stand in front of a board. I'm like, okay, tell me what you have, deliver something. If they don't have a message, then we talk about their idea. Okay, what's your idea that you want to share with the people? Or if they have a business, what does your business do? Like, tell me what your business does. So we start from there. And once they know what they want to talk about, then we hash out a speech. And come up with a few stories that people can relate to. Because if you go in and tell people the features of your business, people are like, I don't care what you're saying. So just hash out a story. And then practice runs is obviously a very important part. Actually, for TEDx, we were practicing at the library. Like sometimes we didn't get a room. We would just go on the roof, and I'll be like, okay, here's your audience, start talking. And I was actually getting nervous myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm putting these people through so much stuff. I wouldn't even do this.
It sounds like a film, like a scene from a movie or something.
It's like, pretty much.
It's storytelling bootcamp.
Yeah. Just on the roof of the library, shouting at the city. Like.
Actually, one of them was a very good singer, and she was singing from the rooftop of the library. I'm like, the whole city can literally listen to you right now.
There must. So I'm thinking, I couldn't sing in front of a city for a variety of reasons, confidence as well as capability. But do you have ways to sort of get people over that fear piece of public speaking?
So it's actually very obvious that if you are speaking in front of the city, you're already going to do that. But I think the people just think that everybody's judging them. Like, hey, the people are going to judge me if I'm going to speak in front of random people. But in the end, I just tell them they don't care who you are, because there's a bunch of people holding their cameras out and recording themselves all the time anyways. So maybe getting over that initial fear that you're getting judged, that's where I usually step in and tell them, no, you are just judging yourself more than anybody else. So nobody cares what you're doing right here. So,
and do you know, I don't know what your relationship is with public speaking, but I remember like I never used to do any of that when I was like a student or in school. But then I think doing it for business, like over time, I was really nervous the first time, but then like got to a point where I just cared less. I don't know whether that's a healthy.
No, that's very healthy.
But maybe I was like, maybe I do need to care about what I'm actually saying to these people. But it was more of like you just become over time, that practice, that repetition, you become less concerned about what every individual in the audience is saying. And
I wonder if there's a difference between an introvert and extrovert on that way that they approach things.
How do you feel about it, John?
So I knew it was a gap in what I do. I needed to do more public speaking. So I actually tackled it in university. One year I took all courses that had an oral presentation at the end. The first one I skipped, just absolutely terrified, couldn't do it. The second one was like, well, this is going to be a waste of a year if I don't. So I forced myself to do it. And it was a blur. And similar to what you're saying, which is usually practice it, make sure it's by rote. It just sort of rolls off. And they're still all blurs and still terrified until I got into a career that forced me to do public presentations. And I remember I was in front of 20,000 people doing a presentation, terrified. I followed a keynote speaker, but we had some innovation technology. And I started to realize that if I knew just a little bit more than the audience, that was my comfort zone. Just something that you're able to share.
Just one step ahead.
Just one step ahead. Not brilliant, just a step. And that became the piece for me. So I'm still, to me, I can't do the I don't care, because inevitably I'm always thinking about that piece. And the outcome of the presentation, usually I've got things tied to the conversation. I expect this to come out of this conversation. And if I don't do a presentation the right way, I don't get those results. So I always have that pressure. I can't get rid of it. It's just the way I am.
Yeah. Well, it's probably healthier than mine.
Yours is healthier for sure. So one of the things you were talking about when you're coaching people, which is going through their process to get that by rote, the practice approach. Do you start to give tips on traditional storytelling mechanisms, on like a story arc, a process that you're going to reveal the presentation through a story? Do you do any of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects of storytelling that we can do. Like when you are giving a speech, you can describe the scene you are in, bring people into the room that, for example, we're sitting in this room. I can start describing the room, the plant, Therese. I don't know if they like that too much, but
Have a go on.
But when you're doing storytelling, you've got to explain as much as you can and slow down a bit, because sometimes people just rush over their speeches so fast, and audience is still trying to grasp what you're saying, and you're already in the next chapter. And in terms of the arc, there's always the hero's journey. You can always build characters. You can be the hero yourself, and then you have a lot of obstacles, and then you're overcoming the obstacle. That's what you can do with your business as well. Like, okay, this is a problem. Our business is solving this problem. So there's a lot of things you can do in terms of storytelling, and structuring also comes in, like what you're putting where when it comes to storytelling, like how to start, how to end. So there's a lot of technicalities that can go in that as well. But I do love stories a lot. So like if you can make it a story, then I'm definitely going to hear it much more than just, hey, I do this, blah, 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 and bye.
Reese, you talk about that a lot, which is usually storytelling, wrapping information in a convey. Same thing with wrapping strategy into humor. Like you look for the human emotional element to be able to convey information.
Yeah, well, I think it comes into that, you know the difference between a good talk and a bad talk. Like one is like the one that emotionally moves someone. You remember things because you've had that kind of, it changed your thought, or it kind of made you feel something. So I think like storytelling is definitely one of the best paths to that. And also humor as well. Like you can try and make people cry, but they might not remember the talk for the right reasons. You can pull on their heartstrings, but I think like talks where the audience are laughing, I often feel are the ones, when I've been in an audience that is laughing, it goes quicker. I tend to retain the information more. And tying that humor and storytelling together, I think is like super potent. And I feel like, well, my big issue is that, and I love that as a structure, but you touched on a moment ago, is I rush. Yeah. And my brain goes, I constantly have to check myself to slow down and go like, hey, how about you just count to 2 and don't say anything in the middle of this talk? Because I just have to fill a vacuum. I have to fill the silence. You know this, John. You have to deal with this all the time.
Yeah.
So ask my wife as well.
Yeah. There is no silence.
No, there is no silence. So like, I think that like that measured storytelling and that kind of building something is really important. But I think that having that dynamic where you're kind of like pacing yourself as well, which is a key part of storytelling, that's an aspect I struggle with. So I'm interested, like, how do you teach people those skills to be like, right, you've got everything worked out, the beginning, the middle, the end, the payoff, now just like do it in a way where you don't just go blah, 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 like I typically do.
It's funny because I was just having a conversation with one of my clients a couple of days ago, and she was doing this exact same thing, blah, 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 blah. And I asked, why are you going so fast? And the thing she said was, my husband, he doesn't take any interest in what I have to say. So I find that he's judging me, and I want to get done as soon as I can and get off the stage. So I find that was a very real problem that people face, the mindset problem, because they think that what they're saying is not interesting, and somebody in their family or close one didn't believe in them, or was mean to them, or they were bullied or something in their childhood. So they want to just finish up what they're saying, so their eyes are not on them, and they can just say it and just get off the spotlight. So the spotlight effect is also a big thing here, where you don't want to be in there and just go sit.
That was sort of my earlier point about the fear of speaking, which is that the spotlight's on you. And trying to get over that, I assume that's difficult. That's a real difficult one to be able to say, okay, I just need you to be confident in yourself and your message now. You can't just say that to somebody. Or you can say it to them, but it may not have an impact. So how do you coach somebody through that kind of fear of the spotlight?
So again, taking the same example, I was telling her like how many clients, because she's also a coach, I was asking her how many clients do you have? And she has a lot of one-on-one clients that who actually pay her to listen to what she's saying. I'm like, what about them? If you gave this speech to them, would they listen to you? She's like, yeah, they will. So usually there is somebody who has given them positive feedback on what their topic is. And I just remind them, okay, in your past, you have given this amazing speech and you have provided so much value to this person. Just instead of picturing somebody who didn't believe in you, picture somebody who you're helping.
That's great.
And then your confidence will come back a little, because people usually have very good messages and other people need to hear it. And it's almost a loss, I feel, for everybody else if they don't deliver their messages. So
I think that's your secret power, Reese.
What's that?
Is that you only ever hear the positive. Right, so you're always thinking the positive scenario, which is not looking at the negative or the criticism. It's like which is a wonderful mindset.
Well, I was just thinking about, you said about the reason people rush. And I think the reason I rush is because I want to get to the Q&A, because I love the improv side of it more than I do the actual structured talk.
So the structured talk is not a normal thing. In conversations, we always have the feedback back and forth. Communication is not just the words that we use. It's the body language, it's the signals, it's the leaning in, all of that kind of stuff. And a presentation is such a one-sided approach.
Well, we gave a presentation recently to a bunch of PR and comms professionals, and I was like, actively, I was like co-presenting with one of our team, and we were actively encouraging people to butt in with questions, which was great. I love it when there's that kind of, you have a structure, but he's also peppered in with, people throwing in questions. I find it fires me up. It gives me a lot of energy, and I kind of love that interactivity, because the big fear, I think for me, is that you talk for 20 minutes and if they're just unresponsive, you haven't had that impact. But if they like give you some questions throughout, I'm almost like, yes, feed off the energy and keep going, in a sense.
Yeah, that's the new format these days. I find every speaker, at least the ones I meet, they speak for 10 to 15 minutes and then give everybody an exercise, give them a group exercise to talk to each other, do something, and then come back, because attention spans are low these days. Nobody wants to listen to you for 45 minutes. And if you give them an activity, they'll remember what you're saying. And Q&As are great. Like you can just feed off the energy and talk to people. And as when I'm speaking, you don't have to be like a guru of anything when you are talking on the stage. You can just be a when you can collaborator maybe. So if a topic comes up you're speaking about, you can like almost think of the audience, you're sitting with them and talking with them instead of talking at them, which I don't like. Like, okay, here I know this piece of information and I want to share this with you. And what's your advice about this? We can just talk about it and start that back and forth with the audience and just asking them questions. I think that works pretty well.
How is like helping other people like find their voice kind of shaped yours? How have you changed from teaching others?
So I get courage myself to talk about, because I have a good history of bullying and all that stuff. So I haven't even touched about
you were bullied?
Yeah, as a kid.
Tell us about that. So only if you want to. Don't go there if it's too hard.
No, that's fine. It's fine. So I grew up in India, and the kids I don't know how the kids here in Canada are, but kids were mean there. So they would...
I think it's a global issue.
So I was shoved, beaten up sometimes as well. So that was because I thought that I said something wrong, and because of that, I started to shut down a lot. And the whole culture is very authoritative as well. Like you have to listen to grown-ups and always shush around them. So that kind of added to the whole thing. Like you're getting bullied at school, and then you come home, you can't express yourself either. So that kind of continued into my teenage years and early 20s. But then I realized this is not right. This is not a good way to live. So that's why I jumped into speaking. So coming back to your question, when I talk about some sensitive topics that I'm scared to talk about, and I do anyways, people usually come to me afterwards and they say, wow, thank you so much for sharing. And that kind of gives me more courage to go much more deeper. Okay, next time I can probably share more. Because I usually think, okay, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. People are going to get uncomfortable, which they do, but it doesn't matter. I'm like, at this point, I don't care. So I'm like, yeah, get uncomfortable if you want. But that just gives me courage to open a bit more. And then at some point, maybe I can just talk about everything on the stage and not care about it, which I think I'm getting there at now. So Yeah. I don't remember what your question was, but it does give me more courage.
No, I guess like, yeah, you seeing other people grow as well probably
Yeah.
makes you just constantly grow as an individual too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to challenge you both on one thing, because you keep mentioning the I don't care piece.
I don't give a shit.
No, but I actually think it's a little bit different. So your story about being bullied, I think, gives you different perspective and understanding what sort of is important. So actually, making a fool of yourself on stage is not a huge issue. It's not that important, right? So it's not necessarily not caring. It's just putting it in the right perspective.
I think it's understanding the stakes. Is that every time you step on that stage, you're not going to die.
Right.
Your life isn't going to be, I mean, depends on what you say, but your life's not going to be transformed forever on a negative path necessarily, unless you purposefully go out of your way to do something like that.
Yeah.
I think if you go out, I always feel like if you're going out there with the right intentions and people can say you're actually making a real effort to share a story, share some insight, that you've gone out there with a real purpose that was supposed to be giving everyone an opportunity to learn something, then I don't know how it can go. It can go bad. There might be mistakes, but it's not going to be a disaster where everyone walks out the room going, "What an idiot!"
Yeah. Yeah.
They go, well, I could see they put a lot of effort into that. It didn't quite land, but I appreciate the intention.
Or you went in there.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you're going to say you went in there?
No.
I'm sure I could think of some things to do on stage that would be
challenge accepted. I'm sure
blacklisted.
Yeah, but I'm hearing a couple of good things, which talks about so focus on the positive, not the negative. So there are people that really want to hear what you're going to say, right? And you assume the negative, but if you can assume the positive, the other thing is talking about putting things into perspective, right? You really, I mean, we build up failure and a failed narrative in our own heads.
Yeah,
get that out of it, and then go for the positive. And then the other thing is the storytelling structure. Everything from the hero's journey to building out global situations and how it impacts individuals in a collaborative space. So you may know stuff, but you're pulling people into the conversation. So I'm hearing some really interesting tips on storytelling and how to public speak.
Well, I was going to ask actually, like, why is this such a key skill? Like, why is this of value to people to like develop this skill? Can they get away with not having to do it these days? Like, is it still a requirement and a huge benefit to have?
I think it's very important. Like anywhere you go, you need to know how to speak to people. Like even if you're a software developer, you got to still pitch what you're working on to the managers, right? You still got to explain them what you're working on. Even the techno jumbo doesn't go too far. So you got to learn how to talk. And as an entrepreneur, you are pitching your business to everybody. So you got to learn how to talk. If you're a manager, you're managing people. Obviously, you got to learn how to talk, and you can't just like give them orders. Hey, do this stuff, and hey, it gets done in 2 days. Doesn't work like that. So I think public speaking, if you are already talking to 300 people, then talking to a couple of people is no big deal. But I guess people don't start from there. They start from smaller groups, and then they go up one by one. But even in relationships, you're talking to friends. Like when I was a young kid, I would just like roast people without thinking. I was like, whatever, you're idiot, blah, blah, blah. I say whatever. But then as I grew older, after all the bullying I went through, and then I saw other people go through similar stuff, I'm like, maybe I should be careful what I say. So I trimmed down a lot. I'm like more careful with what I'm saying. And maybe just like trying to tell people the same thing. I'm like, it's okay to roast people, but maybe keep it a little nicer so you don't cross some boundaries and still be supportive. And I guess the roasting comes in if people is taking them too seriously, because sometimes people are just like, oh, this thing happened to me. Oh my God, I'm destroyed. I'm so sad. But when you do storytelling, you can also tell people that, hey, a lot of people go through similar experiences. You're not the only one. So I think storytelling helps with that as well, bringing that sense of union where you're all together in something. That helps people too, because sometimes people get very lonely and depressed when they go through a difficult experience. And I think speaking can help with that as well. I think I went on a lot of tangents in there.
It was like a roundup. It was good.
Yeah. There's a couple of points from what you just said that I'm trying to dig into, because I think public speaking, you do expose yourself a fair amount. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling somewhat vulnerable and you're getting into a public speaking scenario, I can just imagine the emotions get amplified. And back to when you talked about emotions, you start to speak really quickly because you're passionate about it or you're just emotional about stuff. So I'm trying to think of Reese's question, which is being good at public speaking important? Is it helpful? And if so, why is it helpful? Is it good with a career? Is it good for your relationships? Is it good for your family? Why is public speaking important?
So the definition of good is very important according to me here. When people say public speaking I need to be good at, they think of this larger than life charisma that people should have, like, oh, I should be this big motivational speaker. I think of public speaking as a very straightforward skill that you should be able to good at having a conversation with people. Like you can have a conversation with people from the stage. It doesn't have to be like this big speech that people think of. So I think they make it a really grand skill that you should have, which it isn't. You can just talk to people in a normal way. So when you're talking to people, it's very good to articulate your ideas clearly. What are you trying to say? Like slowing down. That comes back to slowing down. And sometimes when they're talking, they're just talking in a constant tone, monotonous voice. And they're skipping over their own words, and the word sentences, they combine with each other. So they run pretty fast. So the point is, like, if you are good at that, then you can have a better conversation with people and better presenting ideas. So how you are articulating, basically, I would say how you articulate transfers over to other areas of your life. So I was a software developer, but then I learned speaking, and that's how I started communicating better outside of speaking. It like just transferred over for me. Stage is one part of it, but again, in the stage, as you guys said, there's no two-way conversation. But outside, I can now confidently put my point forward and just state what I'm trying to say instead of just like talking in my head, basically. Okay, I would have said this, I would have said that. Now I can actually speak up. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, we went on a careers day trip to this chemical processing plant. It was really exciting. So and the guy gave us a tour, and they showed us they made resins, which, was really gripping for a bunch of 8-year-old kids. I always remember at the end, the guy stood up, and he was the manager of the plant. He was like, right, so what do we make here? And like kids would put their hands up and go, resins. And I remember in my head going, money, you just make money. And I didn't say it because I thought I would be cheeky and I get told off. And he went, no, the real answer is money. And I always remember that going, if I'd spoken up, number one, I was right. Number two, I would have sounded pretty clever. But it was just that confidence thing of going, well, I felt like I was going to cross a line if I did open my mouth. I'm surprised I kept it in, but I did. And I took the lesson of I should maybe just kind of not be afraid to kind of speak, even if I'm kind of worried that maybe I'm skirting the edge of what I can get away with. It's often... again, if it's coming from a good place and you're not being critical, it's trying to be constructive in a fun way. It's
very interesting because people are scared of raising their hand and talking in classrooms. Exactly. I'm actually still terrified of doing that because people might think what you're saying is stupid, right? So
exactly.
but no, I think really stupid things often. And I keep it in.
Yeah.
But you told me you've got no inner monologue.
I have no inner monologue, no.
So you let it all out.
I have to just talk to actually find out what I'm thinking, which is terrible and wonderful.
Yeah, very free. Yeah.
I mean, you're a good person, so it's like good. If you were evil or something, then that would be a problem.
Yeah, there's no like hidden like plans going on in my head. I'm terrible at chess, but I'm great at Hungry Hippos.
So no world domination coming from you, so that's good.
Exactly, you'd all know about it.
So I was just trying to think of some of the logistics of public speaking as well. I don't know if you get into any vocal training, any breathing exercise, anything of the mental thing to be able to relax before presentations. I don't know if you've got any. I know I'm completely going left field here based on your Hungry Hippo conversation. No.
You already forgot about it.
I did. I've been practicing. So Reese has been teaching me how to not listen to somebody, just wait for the mouth to stop moving, and then to come up with my own question.
Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah.
Meditation. Actually, breathing exercises. That's what you're asking. So I practice meditation every day. I'm a big into meditation. So I usually tell people to take some deep breaths before they get on the stage. There's this thing called box breathing. You just breathe in a box. Basically, you don't go sit inside a box, but you count in, inhale, and then exhale.
So what do? You like imagine a box? Or?
No. So it's like you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold again. So you're kind of breathing in. So inhale, hold, exhale, hold. So you're that's the box.
So you kind of is a visual metaphor in your head for you to follow along with the breathing. Yeah, okay.
And the goal with that is to kind of relax yourself. Sometimes people say inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. So your exhales are longer. That kind of signals to your mind that you are okay, you're not under threat, or you're not going to attacked by a tiger or anything. So that's one thing I tell people before they get on the stage. And the vocal variety, that's actually a very tricky one for people because everybody's used to talking at one pace, right? So for that, you can have some exercises, some voice exercises that you can do for changing the tone of your voice. But most of the people, they struggle with the mindset stuff because they're like, oh, we just want to get done with it. People are judging me. I'm stupid and I have nothing good to say, blah, blah. So the mindset traps are like endless. Once they can get over that, the other stuff can easily flow.
I find the breathing exercises really stressful because I'm always like, I can feel myself. Say you have to like breathe out for 4. I'm getting to 2 and I'm like, I've run out of air already. I'm already fucking this up. and I just get stressed out then. I'm just like, so I have to like go, I can ignore the counting. I'm just going to breathe slow.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess most people just have their own individual mind traps.
But there's different kind of speakers. Some of them are very high energy. Like they are constantly like on the top, on the stage. You can be one of those speakers, like always like energizing people. Like
fireworks.
With all your energy.
Fireworks and smoke.
Yeah. Some people are calm, relaxed. Some people are very high energy or some people are in the middle. So it depends on what kind of speaker you are. But yeah.
I don't think I'm as far as like a Robin Williams level of energy, but...
No, you can just like keep building up your energy. So some people don't do the breathing stuff because they need that energy to build the energy in the room. So they use their excitement or their nervousness, I would say, to build the energy in the room. But not all people can do that. Sometimes it gets over the top and they just black out.
Yeah, exactly. Just drag them off the stage.
Just like lying on the floor. But yes, I think there should be a balance of energy. Like sometimes you do need that energy to excite the audience. And if you don't have energy, I would argue that maybe you're not even excited about the speech. If you don't care, like coming back to our conversation earlier, you do need to care a little bit. So and use that. Yeah.
Did you? So you had mentioned Toastmasters earlier. Had you done some training through Toastmasters and?
Yeah, I was in Toastmasters. I'm actually still in Toastmasters. I still go and practice every now and then. So I was in Toastmasters. I have been in Toastmasters for over 5 years. I joined as a member, then I took a bunch of executive roles. I started from the treasurer, then I went to the VP roles, then I became the president. And then I was like, I want a challenge. So I went for competitions in Toastmasters. And I started just for fun, like not giving a shit how Reese does stuff. So I was like, I'll just go and see how it goes. I went up 3 levels. Yeah.
Reese, are you familiar with Toastmasters?
I'm not. No,
I was going to say, if you want to give him the sort of the Coles note, the condensed version of what Toastmasters.
I assume it involves bread.
Pretty much. It's very delicious bread. We serve bread in our meetings. No, it's a non-for-profit. I think it started in Colorado in the 1924. I think they just celebrated like 100 years of Toastmasters. So it's in every city over the globe, and it's just a bunch of people who get together and they have a format of the meeting where you get up there, you practice impromptu speaking, and then you prepare for your speeches and practice that. And the speeches are 5 to 7 minutes usually. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great practice session to sort of learn your craft.
I do that. It was like a Wednesday night. It's a regular thing or whenever it is. I don't know. I'm not plugging yours, but I'm just saying that it just sounds like a fun thing to do. And I guess like, is there an element of debate as well? Do you have like a debate or is it just speaking or?
So some people actually like to structure it differently. Like last week, one of my buddies was doing a speech and he made it a skit. Like you can do whatever, but usually it's one person speaking on the stage. But my friend, he got a couple of people on the stage and he gave them scripts and we were reading the scripts off each other, which was a lot of fun, which was very unusual. We don't do stuff like that. But if you want to do a debate, you can structure your speeches like that. There's some projects in it that you can use to make it a debate. Yeah.
This is my hot take with the growth of AI is that these kind of skills are going to become more valuable. Because we were talking about this, about like Sora 2 and like how it's so hard to know what's real, what isn't real. Are people now using avatars? Is it actually them speaking in their videos or is it just a script they've plugged in? Whereas, that kind of craving for more like real human interaction, I can only see how like public speaking in these skills will, I'd crave it more. Like if you kind of seeing more and more content that makes you question, like, am I actually hearing this person talk? To see somebody on stage or to meet them in a small group present would be like way more valuable to me personally. I don't know. That's my Reese's hot take.
No, I agree. So I have this community online where I coach people in groups, and I was just talking to somebody there, and I was like, I'm going to stop using AI and just start posting stuff in my own voice, because AI, I can actually read AI posts now these days because they all have a constant format. I'm like, okay, another ChatGPT post here, but when you express yourself, then it might not be perfect, but people like you more for it because, as you said, you're actually listening from a human instead of a bot. So,
and you make mistakes, and you start your sentence again halfway through, and all these, you just sound like a real person then, rather than, nobody talks with emojis every line.
I'm actually not even correcting my mistakes these days. I'm like, okay, English is my second language. I don't care. Judge me if you want. But before I used to be, oh my God, my English is so bad. I got to correct every single word. But these days I'm just going on with it. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter what you think.
At least they know it's real.
Well, yeah. So for all of us, our spoken language versus written language are two different things. And you'll know from a transcript from this conversation that none of us are speaking in proper sentence structure, right? So it's there's a lot of latitude from the form to the medium, to all sorts of different things as well.
And body language and expression, though, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm still, I'd heard that language is 10% of communication. So I don't know.
What's the other 90?
I have no idea.
It's just what they say.
Smiles?
Yeah.
Don't stare at people too long.
Eye contact.
Smiles and hip jiggles.
So my last takeaway, my last question is, Reese, I'd thrown this out to you earlier, and you'd mentioned that you want to do a TEDx conversation. So
I do one. Yeah, it's fun.
So I don't know if there's what do we do now if we're like, Reese wants to do a TEDx conversation?
I don't want to
presentation. How do we do this?
So if you have an idea, basically, so TEDx is like ideas worth spreading. That's what their tagline is. So if you have this out of the world idea, you can just send it to pitch, apply with it. But the question is if it's relevant these days and why would people listen to it? So asking all those questions are very important when it comes to TEDx. So usually people will come up with an idea, but it's like already out there, and then their applications don't get accepted. But asking yourself why now, why, how is it relevant, and why is it relevant right now? So asking yourself a couple of questions is very important. And just to shape it, it's basically, since I've been in TEDx before, I used to think of it as a big deal as well. But now I'm like, okay, if I can just shape my idea in a certain way, then it is like highly more likely to be heard by people than just coming up with a plain old resilience motivational story, because people are tired of those at this point.
Okay. Lots to think about it. And my problem is I'll have a new idea every day, and then I'll forget the one the day before. So it's just that.
Just write it down.
I need to write it down. Exactly. Do you think I should do one? I think you should do one, John.
Well, I think you definitely should do. Let's come up with an idea. Let's pitch the idea, and then we'll figure out how to present it.
See if it happens.
Yeah.
And then will you coach me if it's local?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, if we don't just try to laugh all day instead of coaching, but
I'm open to that too. So.
Well, on that note.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, it was so much fun. Yeah, the most fun I've had on a podcast in a while.
Yep. Is there anything you want to say to our listeners?
Can I pitch?
Actually, go for it.
Give us some public speaking. Go for it.
I don't. Yeah. So public speaking, I was just talking about my community. So if you're looking to learn public speaking, you can join my community on School. It's a platform where I actually run weekly group coaching call, and I'm trying to take the AI out of a bit and trying to actually build a community of humans where we take out the fear of speaking and actually share stories. And these days, I've been talking to some people there with whom the conversations have been going on for months, and they have been for the silliest topics. And actually, that's really good, because then you can apply with these topics to TEDx. Because again, as I said, TEDx doesn't have to be this big out of the world idea. It could be a very silly thing that people think differently about. So yeah, just join me on School, and we can talk about your ideas and come up with the topic for TEDx.
Where can people find it? It's called School?
It's school.com, and my community is called Resilient Speakers, because it has taken me a long while to find my voice. That's why I named it Resilient Speakers, and it's a speaking community on School that I have.
And one of the things we like to do is to get a quick takeaway piece of knowledge. So if there's an exercise or piece of advice you can give in regards to your expertise and coaching that we or our listeners can take away and use tomorrow or next week, do you have anything you can share?
Yeah, actually I was thinking something else, but since talking to you guys, something different has come to my mind. So vocalizing your thoughts is actually a very good way to get into speaking. You said you don't have any mental chatter. You always talk. So be like Reese, I would would say. Like,
Be like Reese? Oh, no. That's the worst coaching I've got.
Yeah, we just came up with a great idea for our first T-shirt for the show. Merchandise.
Yeah.
Be like Reese.
Be like Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because people just judge their thoughts all the time, right? They don't speak up. I'm like, if you just speak up, you'll be so much better. You're not going to like say something very bad.
I just vocalize my thoughts and then John judges them. That's how it works.
Ouch. But you're not wrong.
No. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The best place to find this podcast is wherever you find podcasts.
That's where I'd start.